This shoe with a review of the Zoom Freak 5. It's already the fifth model for size 9.5. It weighs about 349 grams, and that's very light. And it feels even lighter than what the digits show, so that's very impressive. It looks very much like the Zoom Freak 2s, and I feel like this is an upgrade of the Zoom Freak 2s in many ways, 2.5 perhaps. It's got that minimal rectangular zoom in on the forefoot, which you can feel much more and much better than Zoom Freak 2. And overall, whether it's Phylon or some plain old EVA foam, it's actually softer than the foam that was used in 2, definitely. As soft as the ones used in Zoom Freak 3s and 4s, but the 4s, they've had that little waffle pattern inside to provide more room for the foam to expand and contract and for the impact to be distributed. For this, they did something similar. If you remember the Jordan 30s, they've had a little bit of a concave hole here that made the shoe, even though it's just foam, it had areas to expand, so it provided that much of an upgrade in terms of shock absorption and stepping comfort. This has that. The foam is softer, and there's this escape triangle for the compression and expansion. So it feels very similar to the Zoom Freak 4s in terms of the heel cushioning. But of course, this is not something that lasts. The more you run around in it, the foam will compress, and eventually it'll feel dull. It'll feel like you wish you had some kind of a tech there, whether it's something more resistant, something more durable, like an upgraded proprietary foam like a React or even Luna or something like that. So could have been better, but yeah, it's definitely keeping in tune with the upgrades they made so far in the Zoom Freak 4 and not taking a step backward. The forefoot zoom, if you compare it to the latest models like the Jaw 1, definitely you can feel the forefoot zoom better than the Jaw 1s. Over the foam is softer and more plush than the Jaw 1s, especially in the heel, so definitely a better choice. The price point went up a little bit. For me, that's questionable because Zoom Freak 4 actually had a bit more tech that deserves a bigger price tag than this one. I feel like this is a more budgeted version of Zoom Freaks compared to the 4s, but they've actually jacked up the price. Design-wise, I like this colorway better than the ones that's more internationally released, that with that red golden thing. This actually reminds me of those Nike Challenge models that Andre Agassi used to wear for this tennis tournaments. So it feels nice, and I like this embroidered Nike ear, the traditional one, their old school I guess flavor there. It looks nice. Overall, the padding is nice. There's no part that pinches or hurts or anything like that. It hugs your foot nicely all around, and the heel cup is there, and the heel slippage is very minimal. If not, it's definitely better. It definitely provides more heel lockdown than LeBron 20s or the KD 15s, which had some serious heel slippage issues. So this is actually much better than them in that sense. The shoe is not that crazy breathable, even though they had some visible nylon mesh type of material on the lateral side. It doesn't feel that breathable. And this little leather upper, I feel like it's very puffy. As you can tell, it's kind of puffed up. So there's some crazy dead space on the toe box area. If you like that form-fitting sensation you've had in previous Zoom Freak models like the Zoom Freak 2s, this is definitely not something that will sit right with you. I wish the lace lip could go down a little bit more, or if this fluffy part was a bit more lowered, or it hugs the top of your foot more, it would be better. So lockdown, I feel like, could have been better. The outrigger definitely deserves some applause and praise. It's this whole swoosh silhouette or shadow. This thing is just sticking out, and it provides that nice little cushioning cradling to prevent ankle rollover, very similar to what we've experienced with the KD 14, which had a very great braking system there. The base is pretty wide as well. You can see this little outrigger protruding, getting the job done. Stability in terms of preventing ankle rollover, this is excellent. The traction pattern very much reminds you of the Zoom Crusader, except it's got less opening, less areas for dust to kind of flow through, so you will see some dust clogging this pattern. So it's not the most dust resistant, yeah, but overall it's pretty good. The traction is pretty decent, and the heel, it kind of reminds you of some of the old school models that you've had in whether it's Adidas or Asics, where they seem like they were too lazy to come up with a more intricate traction pattern. It's an oversized arrow or a micro zoomed in herringbone pattern, but they do have extra blades or cuts all around the blades as well, so it's decent. But depending on the way you move, you might feel a little bit insecure moving a certain direction, because that's not the resistance to this movement is not going to be as resistant as when you're moving this way. So overall, I wish they would have just had a blade pattern that was more like straightforward. That might be better, because in the heel, yeah, that's what you need most. So yeah, fit wise, I would say true to size is okay. If you have very narrow fit and you like a tight fit, you might even want to go down half a size. If you feel like you need some space, or you feel like you're a bit of a wide footer, then you might want to go up half a size. But this is a pretty, yeah, this is a very, it's not crazy narrow. It's not crazy roomy either, but it's okay. It's very decent. So yeah, the cushioning is decent. At the same time, the insole is excellent. With the insole edition, it feels like the cushioning, they work in tandem very nicely. They feel very plush. As good, if not better, than the Zoom Freak 4s, if you like the 4 cushioning, which I feel was one of the more superior cushioning setup they've had for the Zoom Freak series so far. Definitely better than the Why Not series, where they just have some zoom in the forefoot and nothing in the heel, and the heel is a bit clunky. Yeah, the insole is sort of like Ocelite material, but it's pretty thin, but at the same time dense and not too hard, just the right amount of resistance and softness. On the top coat, I like it kind of suede-y, so it provides a necessary amount of traction, and also it forms to your foot a little bit, the shape of your toes, to, you know, comfortably cradle your foot and toes to let them position themselves well. But this little patch, I hate it, because these little stitchings and all these little itty-bitty bits, they actually provide some degree of discomfort. I could feel it, and it kind of chafes off your socks as well. Personally, I would rather, use a knife to cut all the strings out and just pull it out. That would actually be much better than having this little patch. So yeah, overall price spike, I can't agree with it. Design wise, it's a nice direction, because Giannis Antetokounmpo has I guess he feels personally very attached to Zoom Freak 2s, even though most people didn't really enjoy that very hard shoe, but he wore that throughout the finals and the playoffs, even though the 3 was out, so he much preferred this. And there's a reason why they probably went something similar to the 2s, because that's what the athlete prefers. Overall, this is a decent shoe, super lightweight, good traction. The outrigger is awesome. But yeah, definitely better than Ja 1, that's what I can say, but they could have done a little bit more.